And I remember, I think last year I was doing this at a gig and I did it to like the CEO and he just couldn't understand. I think I present it similarly to you, how it's a bit like of a challenge. And he couldn't understand how this was possible. So he literally took me round. I think there was only about 25 or 30 people at their party. It was quite a small affair, but he took me around to everyone individually and made me do it to everyone. So I was going around for probably about an hour, just doing it to every single person. He kept saying, "Can you show this person and this person?" They've booked me a couple of times since, and every single time without fail, I'm trying to switch up the routines and pieces of magic that I do for them. But they always say, "Oh, can you show us the Rubik's Cube one again?"
But please don't do MD whilst I'm at a gig because I'll get your readings and you'll get mine.
Well, we did have that problem, didn't we? But I was just
Yes,
shouting
we
from the
did.
other side of the room. It's blue.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Desert Island Tricks. Today is another old friend of mine. I've known him for a good few years, and let me tell you, you guys are in for a treat. He is one of the busiest up-and-coming magicians in our country, but we're going to talk about him in a second. First of all, let's get onto the concept. So by now, hopefully you know the concept, but just in case this is your first podcast that you've chosen from the list of people, then I'll let you know. The idea is that our guests are marooned on a desert island. They're allowed to take with them 8 tricks, 1 book, and 1 non-magic item that they use for magic. The island part really is just part of the concept. It's basically the list of tricks that they could not live without. So, with that being said, let's get on to today's episode. Today's guest is a multi-award winning former Young Magician of the Year who performs at weddings, corporate events, and functions for some of the biggest brands in the world. With guest appearances on Bluepeter, BBC, and NBC, he is one of the hardest working magicians I know, and his attention to detail is staggering. Even preparing for this podcast, he has several pages of notes to make sure that he is as prepared as he can be. On a personal note, he is one of the nicest people you could ever wish to meet, and I'm so pleased he's agreed to be one of our guests. Today's guest is, of course, the wonderful Dean Leavy. Hello, Dean.
Hello, Jamie. Oh, thank you very much for such a lovely introduction as well. I'm excited to be here.
So I've known you for a few years now, and I mean, your background was you were sort of a manipulator, and you used to do manipacks, and you're very, very good at it. Anyone who goes to Dean's socials will see several clips. Even though I know how the rose tricks work, it still baffles me because it looks so good. But now you're sort of a wedding MC, a corporate magician. You're breaking into trade shows. Honestly, Dean is so busy at the moment, and he's only getting busier. But now we're going to find out your list. Did you find it difficult to put the list together?
I did actually, because like you were just saying there, my background when I was kind of growing up, especially performing a lot of the Young Magicians Club, was all kind of stage magic and manipulation. And now, probably more than anything else, I predominantly do close-up magic. So I've tried to get a little bit of a mixture here, but at the moment it's kind of close-up magic for me that I do on a regular basis. So it's going to be predominantly close-up magic based items, but it has been difficult narrowing it down to only 8 items. I think, yeah, being magicians, we're very lucky with the amount of tricks, routines, and content that's out there at the moment. So it's quite difficult to narrow it down. But I think I've got a good, strong list here.
And so each time before the podcast, if I know the person, I have a guess. My guess for you is that they're going to be sort of working routines. I actually went out with Dean about a month and a half ago now, to one of your gigs to do some filming for you. So I have an idea of the sort of material that you perform. I reckon there's probably going to be 1 or 2 curveballs in there that I don't know. But I do reckon they're all going to be working commercial tricks.
I think, yeah, the majority of them are, like you were saying, we've had a couple of gigs together over the last few months, which has been lovely. And yeah, I think a lot of the routines that I do are heavily commercial at the moment. As I say, that's probably what I spend most of my weeks doing at the moment. But then I have put a couple of items in here which one of which is has to go in. I won't ruin anything just yet. I'll leave that to a secret. That's my last item, but that's probably my favourite, and probably actually the reason why I'm still doing magic today. So that's why I've put that in there at the end as well. But I'm sure we'll get to that in due course.
Nice. I like the little teasing there. That's great. Good. So let's take you away to your desert island and let's find out what you have in your first position.
So number one for me, the reason I've put this item at number one is because I probably performed it more than any other trick in the world, and that is Extreme Burn by Richard Sanders. So I'm a big believer that as a magician, you need to capture your audience attention, either if you are performing close up or on stage, as quickly as you possibly can. Ideally, within the first 30 seconds, if you meet someone or a group of people, I would say to try and capture their attention, but with a flashy visual piece of magic. And I think Extreme Burn is one of the best pieces of magic for that, because you can turn, if people aren't familiar with it, anything from receipts, I know Monopoly money, you can be small pieces of paper like hand drawn fake banknotes, and you can change it into real cash that you can hand out and give to people to examine as well. So I believe there's no better trick, because when you see that happen right in front of you, especially for the first time, it's just so visual, and people always ask, well, yeah, you can come home with me, you can do this. So it's a nice little way to get a few gags in there as well, and just kind of kickstart your performance, especially if you're doing close up.
I agree entirely. And I've seen you gig Extreme Burn, and I've seen it's pretty much your opener all the time. I've seen you do it walk around, and that's the good thing, because it's great for walk around. It's an elevated trick. It's not just something that is one where everyone has to huddle around. It's quite an open. It's almost a parlor effect, really, but for a close-up environment. So at tables at large events, everyone can see it happening, but equally a small group at a cocktail party or wherever everyone's standing around you. It's just as good for that. It's just such a visual routine.
It really is. It's probably one of the most visual pieces of magic that I perform close up anyway. And it's just incredibly versatile. So you can perform it in whatever way you want to. As I say, a good friend of mine has banknotes that I think Steve Rowe actually sells. Steve Rowe is the genius at making Extreme Burn. If you've never had Steve make one of yours, then definitely check out his website, Gimmick King. But I think he sells kid drawn notes. And my good friend Dean, he performs it and tells a little story about how his children have drawn these notes for him. He always takes them with him and then changes it into cash. So it's really nice. And then I kind of use like a lottery presentation. So I always talk about how when I get asked about being a magician, people always ask if I can predict a lottery for them. I'm going to do one better for you right now. We're going to have an instant win and kind of turn them straight into cash that way. So it's a really versatile piece of magic, and I haven't had the opportunity to do this yet, but if I ever get booked to go abroad to, like, I don't know, somewhere in Europe or America, I'll definitely be making it up with like euros or dollars, because it is that strong. I'd happily just make one up or get Steve Rowe to make it up for me just for that performance, because it is so visual.
Yeah, I've not even thought about that. There are lots of different presentations. I'm sure, didn't someone do it on Britain's Got Talent as well? And they had their own notes made with all the judges on, which I thought was a really nice touch as well.
Yeah, I think that was Jamie Raven who did that actually. That was a really good routine. Yeah, I think Jamie Raven did that, but that was brilliant. So as I say, you can use it for, social media, TV, like you just mentioned, close up. Probably wouldn't use it on stage, but I'm sure people have.
I'm sure, yeah, with the camera, I reckon it'll be pretty good.
Oh, with a camera, it'd be good. It'd be great.
But a very, very solid opening trick. And I love how you've opened your set with the trick that you open your set with. So that's good. What was in your second position?
So number two is similar to why I put this at number two, similar to Extreme Burn, is because this is probably a routine that I do more than any other, excluding Extreme Burn, and that is the Ring Flight Revolution by Prop Dog and Dave Bonsall. And as I say, it's a trick that I do at every single table. If I'm entertaining at a wedding, a corporate event, private party, pretty much every table gets to see my ring flight routine. And I'm not going to ruin the second phase of my ring flight routine, because that's coming up a little bit later on. But I always think that a borrowed object to impossible location is one of the strongest pieces of magic, and especially when you can, of course, borrow a spectator's ring, because not only is it probably really valuable in either kind of monetary or sentimental value, you've got the investment from that person. So say a lady lends you a ring, and her husband and the rest of the table, because they don't want you to be losing her ring or whatever they're thinking in their head. So you've got so many eyes on you. I just feel like when it reappears impossibly in your car keys in your back pocket, it's just one of the most incredible pieces of magic.
I agree, and it's another one where it's a great one for creating a larger routine, because some people just end there, and that's great, but then the idea of taking that ring back and then doing something else or it appearing somewhere else after that, it's such a again, it's quite a versatile routine for going forward and making it much bigger than the sum of its parts, I would say.
I think you're right, definitely. So my routine, my ring flight routine probably goes on for about 4 or 5 minutes. So it's not just like a one phase routine. I've got a few gags that I've kind of built into it over the years, that I kind of add alongside with the ring flight routine. And it's something that I do, I can even do it walk around as well. So if like last night I was entertaining at a corporate event, little drinks reception, there was no table. So that one of the first things I put in my pocket was my ring flight. And it's just perfect for any opportunity where you spot someone with a nice ring, ask to borrow it. And as I say, sometimes you get people who are slightly reluctant to give it to you. More often than not, people are more than happy to lend you the ring after you've shown them some strong magic. But it just really makes your audience value the routine more, because it's not, one of your props that you've given them. It's their ring that's ended up on your keys, kind of thing. So I think it's a really strong piece of magic. I know there's a lot of ring flight versions out there as well, but I do think that the ring flight revolution is probably one of the best, because it's the most natural. It's just a set of car keys rather than other versions, not discrediting any of them whatsoever, but it's just, a natural thing for everybody to have in their pocket, their keys, their phone, their wallet. So I think it makes perfect sense to perform it in any situation.
And both of them so far, so Extreme Burn and Ring Flight Revolution, both of them are, no table needed, everything's in your own hands, can be played much bigger. So we're already getting an idea of how you choose some of your effects. So they have to work in different environments, because obviously you work at corporate and you work at weddings and sort of different venues and different situations. So that brings us on to your third item. What would you put in your third place?
So my third item is the Jerry O'Connell Plus wallet. So it's a card to wallet, and I don't really use it as a card to wallet anymore. But essentially, that's what I think it was designed for like a plain card to wallet. If you don't know, it's kind of like I don't know what they're called, but they're a much bigger version of a wallet than like a hip pocket wallet. They're quite large in size, and I think that's probably one of the only limitations and downsides to it. But I think that the benefits massively outweigh the size issue of the wallet. And I personally use it for the second phase of my ring flight. So I load the ring into the wallet and inside a bond envelope, into an envelope, sealed envelope. And I think, again, that's a really strong end to a really good first phase of the routine with ring flight. So their ring ends up in a sealed envelope inside the wallet, inside the zippered compartment that this person was holding on to. And I still, when I get repeat bookings, get people asking me to either perform that again, or they, that's one of the tricks that they remember, like my ring was inside this envelope and whatnot. So I think it's really powerful as a utility device, but I also use it to hold lots of different props. So I have a couple of predictions in there. So I do like a lottery prediction test, and that's just inside a small envelope inside one of the pockets. I have my Knock 'em Dead by Peter Nardi from Alakazam, of course. Knock 'em Dead card in there. So that's always in play. That's always there if I need it, and if I'm performing Knock 'em Dead. I also think, just touching back on the wallet's functioning, it's also one of the best because it has no slides. It's just something else. When you have some of these incredible cards to wallets, which I've got a couple of others as well, you have this slide which you have to put in and out and then, keep in your pocket or whatnot without saying too much and giving too much away. But that's just another thing to carry around, and another thing that puts me off some of the other wallets, which is why I think that the easy load function of this wallet is probably why I would put it as the best ever card to wallet, and why it's actually in my third spot of my all-time kind of favorite tricks if I was marooned on the desert island. But yeah, I always take it with me, especially when I'm gigging. I've got like flash paper in there, several predictions, as I said. couple of like double backers, double faces for various different routines, and some business cards as well. It is slightly larger than I'd like it to be, but I do think that all of the benefits of having the Jerry O'Connell wallet, the ease of use, having it as a multiple out, it holds so many of my predictions and utilities. And the fact that I've probably got about 15 minutes of impromptu magic if needed, if I was just out and about and had that wallet with me, I could probably do about 15 minutes with all of the routines that I've got in there. I've also got some loops in there as well. I didn't mention that, and some other like credit card effects. So that's why for me it's one of the best. I think the size obviously really helps with all of the things that you can actually put in there, so you can carry around lots of really strong magic in the wallet.
Great third choice, and that brings us halfway of your trick. Ooh. So what is in your fourth position?
So I think you especially, Jamie, are going to be really happy with what's in the fourth position. This is a piece of magic that Harry and yourself very kindly recommended to me. It took me a couple of months, I think, to be convinced to purchase this from Alakazam, but it is definitely one of the strongest pieces of magic and actually mentalism that I do, and that is MD Mini by Pro Mystic. And I can also see you making notes here. You already wrote that down before I even said what it was, and of course you don't know what I was going to say. But yeah, MD Mini by Pro Mystic is it's just incredible, and I think you need to see someone like Jamie or Harry, who are incredible mentalists, perform this. And as soon as you do, I guarantee you're going to purchase it. It's one of Jamie, what are your thoughts on MD? I mean, you're the one who kind of recommended it to me. I mean,
yeah,
it's the best, right?
It's just the best. It never fails to impress. It's one of those ones as well. I put it under the bracket of invisible deck. I call it a challenge trick. So it's one of the tricks that people will challenge you just to do again and again. So I remember a couple of years ago doing a gig, and I ended up basically doing 3 tricks for the whole gig where everyone was just recommending it. And 2 of them were MD Mini and the invisible deck. So as soon as I revealed the card to the invisible deck, someone else says, okay, what's my card? Or I could just go to another person and say, you wouldn't have chosen that card, so wait there, I'm going to make another prediction. Then I turn around and do it again. Same with the MD Mini. You can literally pass it around an entire table, and the amount of times that I have in restaurants, someone go, right, let me try now. Give it here. Then they take it back. And I do a 3-phase routine, but I use another product at the end of that, which I'm still trying to convince Dean to get, because I think it's just the perfect lead-in to that effect. And for me, that brand as well. Brands really matter in Magic, and there are a lot of electric brands that are coming out. But for me, Pro Mystic are just so reliable. It's never failed me.
No, I completely agree with what you were saying there. And I remember when I first gigged it, I think I gigged it at a wedding, and I'd been practicing it for quite a few weeks beforehand. And I did it to one group, and it was like you were saying, they were saying, can I have a go? Can I have a go? And I was thinking, yeah, but are you not getting bored of this at the moment? But they just kept saying, like, can I have a go? Can I have a go? To the point where people will literally say, oh, you've got to go over to Tom and show him this because he's going to freak out when you do this. And I remember, I think last year I was doing this at a gig, and I was doing it for like a corporate summer party. And I did it to like the CEO, and he just couldn't understand. I think I present it similarly to you, how it's a bit like of a challenge. And he couldn't understand how this was possible. So he literally took me round. I think there was only about 25 or 30 people at their party. It was quite a small affair, but he took me around to everyone individually and made me do it to everyone. So I was going around for probably about an hour, just doing it to every single person. And like you say, I remember that gig coming away from there thinking they didn't actually do too much, but that's what they were requesting to see. You kept saying, can you show this person and this person? And they've booked me a couple of times since, and every single time without fail, I'm trying to switch up the routines and pieces of magic that I do for them, but they always say, oh, can you show us the Rubik's Cube one again? Can you show us like MD Mini? So it is one of the best pieces of magic and best pieces of advice as well to actually purchase that routine. So I highly recommend looking at all of the Pro Mystic products as well. I think you're the UK stockist, aren't you, Alakazam, for
yeah.
Pro Mystic. One routine that I didn't put in here, but is equally good, which I have to mention, is the color match routine. Again, it just plays so big. I know some magicians have done this in theatres of thousands of people. Such a fun routine. And if you're performing something on stage in front of that many people, you don't want it to go wrong. And like you say, it never does. They're really good. I think they're the industry. They have to be the industry leader when it comes to technology and mentalism. So yeah, really strong piece of magic, MD Mini.
You just mentioned the color match, and I find that with MD Mini. So people think because it's such a small prop, it doesn't play large. But I've used it on stage. I've used it in theatre. The Halloween just gone. It's part of my Halloween shows. So just because it's a little prop, it doesn't mean it doesn't play huge. So, having that tiny little thing in your pocket plays massive on stage, especially when you have one person in the middle of the stage. The reaction on their face lets the entire audience know that you've got it right. So yeah, I think it's such a solid trick.
It really is. Yeah, 100%. One of the best.
That brings us over the halfway point. So far we've had Extreme Burn, Ring Flight, Jerry O'Connell Plus, and MD Mini. What's in your fifth position?
Okay, so I was thinking, I made a note of all of the routines that I perform, and something that comes up quite heavily at the moment for me is magic with mobile phones. So I was trying to pick which mobile phone piece of magic that I do the most. I went with one that I think most people listening to this would probably have purchased if they do any magic with phones, and that is Digital Force Bag by Nick Einhorn. And the reason I'd pick this is because it's an incredibly versatile piece of magic. So a digital force bag, absolutely incredible, without giving anything away at all. I do lots of other stuff, wiki test, toxic force, I do inject, but this is the one that I use all the time to start some major routines. And it's like you were saying here with MD Mini, that you can do it close up. I'd actually be really happy. I haven't done this yet, but to use it on stage because it's just a natural thing for you to do, to get out a mobile phone. I think nowadays, of course, mobile phones are probably our most prized possession. So I think any magic with technology can be probably some of the most powerful magic you can do. And there's just absolutely, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give anything away, but I'll tell you some of the things I use it for. So I use it to get people to think of a celebrity for like a celebrity prediction routine on my Instagram that I do. That's a great way of getting followers on Instagram as well if you're at gigs from prospective clients. And for a phantom cutout routine as well, it's just a really natural way. You don't have to carry around like a whole Sven pad or 52 different playing cards that you've pre-written. And you can interchange the lists as well as frequently as you want. And also because it's digital, I think ChatGPT now has really changed the game for making lists of absolutely anything. So I hope my friend doesn't mind me saying this, but I've got a friend who owns an Indian restaurant. And recently, the other day, he made a list of 100 different items you could purchase through ChatGPT. So starters from Indian restaurants, main dishes, whatever. Listed out 100 different items on ChatGPT, inserted it into the FB. And then he could do some really cool customized routines, which is really kind of niche to him. So I hope he doesn't mind me sharing that. But that's why I think it's such a strong piece of magic, because it's just a start for something big that you can kind of grow into. I think a lot of people listening to this will probably know what it is anyway, without giving anything away. And it's just so versatile as well.
And again, it's another one that close up, parlor, stage, it can be the idea of ChatGPT and customizing lists to your clients, really smart as well. I think it's just a phenomenal effect, or I don't know, is it an effect? It's more of a tool, really, isn't it? And it's one of those ones, there's a big question, again, in magic, whether technology magic is good or bad, and whether apps are too obvious. But I think there's a difference. There are apps that function like apps, and there are apps that are almost invisible because they function like normal apps. And I think that's what DFB is. It functions like a normal app. At no point is there any trick or involvement of a trick introduced to it. So it doesn't feel like it's a trick app at all.
So two things on that. I think that when I used to perform my celebrity phantom cutout routine, I used to get people to think of a celebrity. I had 52 different blank cards, and I used to write down the names of celebrities, get them to choose a card they thought of said celebrity. I just think that nowadays is probably, people don't even think about that, because everyone here, everyone you go and meet has a smartphone. Everyone on the phone, everyone on the table will have a phone. it just looks more natural for me to pull out my phone and ask them to think of a number between 1 and 100 than it does to bring out a deck of cards. And they know because I've shown them some either card stuff earlier or some other pieces of magic that I've got the ability to do a little bit of manipulation with the cards and whatnot and get them to choose said card. It's just so much more natural and organic for me to use the phone for that. And the second thing is, depending on how you frame your routines, as I say, it's all about the starting point for me, and then you grow and build your own routine around it. But more often than not, they misremember what actually happened, and they just said, "Yeah." They asked me to think of someone, and I thought of Leonardo DiCaprio. I know that's one that a lot of magicians use, and and then they misremember the fact that I even brought my phone out to begin with. They're like, "Yeah, I just thought of a celebrity." So if you can try and frame it like that too, it makes it even stronger and more powerful. And then it's like you didn't even use it in the first place.
That's another really, really solid choice, and one that I think a lot of magicians are going to have and agree with.
Hello guys, I'm here to talk to you about Alakazam Unlimited. This is the best streaming platform in the world, I'm telling you now. With Alakazam Unlimited, you get access to over 150 magic routines. This is video performances and explanations. We have card magic, coin magic, kids magic, rope magic, mentalism, stage, parlor, impromptu. We've got you covered. All of this for the low price of just £4.99 a month, and you can cancel at any time. Perfect if you've got commitment issues. Yes, I'm talking to you. Guys, you are going to absolutely love it. If you haven't joined the platform already, what the heck are you doing? Alakazam Unlimited is a streaming platform that you need to be a part of. Not only that, there is also exclusive content only available on the platform. Check it out now, alakazam.co.uk. Cheers.
So what's in your sixth position?
So number 6 for me is another really strong piece of magic, and I don't know who said this. Jamie, you might be able to help me out with who said this, but somebody once said that the strongest pieces of magic can be summed up in 3 words. So, for example, bottle through table or card on ceiling. And the one that I've gone with is Bill and Lemon. I think it's one of the strongest pieces of memorable magic. So it's meant to be nice and easy for people to remember kind of what happened at the end. I think the reason I wanted to mention that is because it's such a memorable piece of magic. I normally do this I only normally do this once or twice. I don't do this like every table. I know some magicians do, but I normally do this for either the booker, if I'm working at a corporate event. It's a really good way to perform a strong piece of magic and kind of show them something special, or the top table if I'm performing at a wedding. The only reason I don't do it every table is because I do find that it is a little bit messy, can be a little bit challenging in your preparation. And I don't really cut corners when it comes to preparation anyway, but I just feel like it can be a little bit messy. I don't want to give too much away with some of the stuff that I'm saying, but Bill and Lemon for me is fantastic. I normally bring the fruit that I use. So I use lemon, lime, or kiwi. I normally bring it into play earlier on as well, so like in a chop cup routine. So it feels more organic when you do the final reveal of their signed banknote in said lemon. And it's another object to impossible location effects. I think for me, it's some of the strongest pieces of magic you can perform. This is also another effect that you could do on stage as well. See, many magicians do it on stage. And if I ever had the opportunity to do it, I 100% would give it a go. And I think for me, it's just something about using like a piece of fruit in your act and to bring out the bill from the lemon. It's just one of the most incredible pieces of magic that I've ever seen. And it was one of the first things that I ever saw a magician perform as well. And it blew me away when I saw it. So I had to put it on there.
Yeah, it's another really strong piece of magic, isn't it? 2 things. Number 1, aside from this, Dean really does prep or over prep almost everything. If you saw the things that he does for his gigs, he makes me feel bad for my audiences. I feel like I should be putting in more effort because he just the amount of preparation he does for gigs is just unfathomable. Secondly, Bill and Lemon, which version, if I held you to it, would you recommend?
Probably Michael Amar. I'd say that would be a fantastic version. You're right, I didn't mention the version, but that's the first version I ever learnt, and it's the only version I've ever performed. So I think, yeah, really strong piece of magic, and that's what I'm going to go with.
And you go for Bill in Lemon as opposed to Card. Have you tried anything else?
So I don't know if you've noticed so far, but I haven't actually mentioned a card trick. And that is because I do love card routines. There's plenty, a few that I do all the time. I do Invisible Deck, like you mentioned. One of my favorite pieces, believe it or not, is Imagine by Peter and Harry Nardi. That's one of the best, strongest pieces of magic I think I perform in my working routine. And also What Happens in Vegas as well. So I'm just listed off tricks that I perform now. But I do think that if you can perform something which isn't cards, it will set you aside from the rest. It makes you a little bit different because I think a lot of magicians probably heavily rely on card routines and card tricks. And I like to try and do different stuff that people haven't seen. And I think it generally can be more entertaining when you're, borrowing a banknote, signing it. I normally do like a little bill switch, change it up, have a few laughs and gags as well in the meantime. And then there's a little bit of time misdirection, and then it ends up in a lemon. So you can perform like a little 5 minute routine without any cards at all. And I think people just like that more than card tricks, but that's my own personal opinion. I know there are going to be hardcore card fans out there who are going to heavily disagree with that.
That's fine. That's what we're all about. I'm with you there. I think diversity in a set is really important. Not to say that a full card show isn't going to be interesting, because I've seen some amazing ones. I remember seeing Dennis Beer. He has a card show and it's just amazing. But yeah, great choice. Another one that, again, close up, parlor, different environments. It's great. What's in your 7th position?
Okay, so the last two here are not close-up effects. They're effects that I have probably performed quite a few times on stage. So the first one I'm going to go for is a torn and restored newspaper. This is such a visual piece of magic. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, there's so many different versions out there. I think I had them all at one point until I decided on which version I'd want to use. And that version is the Axel Hecklow's Newsflash 2.0. I mean, watching his DVD, he's just an absolute genius when it comes to as a creator in general. But I mean, there's so many different versions that you can perform on that particular DVD. I went with the large broadsheet newspapers because I think that when you're performing on stage, it's much bigger and more visual for people sitting at the cheap seats in the back and at the top. But I think it's such a great piece of magic. It's a piece of magic that I performed in my stage kind of manipulation act. So I performed it quite a few times, and as I say, I went through different versions. So I really got to know how to do all the different versions. So it's probably one of my favorite pieces of magic of all time, actually.
And Axel Hecklow's version, if I remember rightly, basically meant that it was much easier to set up beforehand, and it made it easier to handle when you're performing it.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I kind of adapted that version and put some flash and fire into it as well. So it probably wasn't as easy for me to set up. And it depends how many you want to set up as well. I remember doing a run of shows at the Magic Circle for the Magic Circle Christmas shows. I think we did 16 shows in 8 days. So I had to prep I can't give too much away, but I had to prep like 32 different newspapers for that. So that took a long time, but it was worth it because it's such a strong piece of magic. And that's why I think the preparation in what you do as well is key. But yeah, it's definitely the best. I don't know if I can say this. I'm just going to say it anyway. But you don't have to put like your fingers behind the sheets of newspaper that you tear. So you literally just once you've done the final tear, you kind of just put both together, and it's just restored. I would highly encourage anyone listening to this and who hasn't seen it to go and look at the trailer or look at Axel Hecklow performing it. Newsflash 2.0, such a visual piece of magic, and it'll probably even fool you, to be honest, even if you have done some restored newspaper before, if you just watch the restoration. I mean, it certainly got me when I started learning how to do it. It was completely different from all the other versions out there. And I'm not discrediting the other versions, but they work slightly similar. This one's just completely different. And yeah, I think he's an absolute genius as well.
So that takes us on to your final item, which you sort of teased at the beginning. So, and you sort of teased it then because you said the final 2 pieces. So what is in your final position?
So my last item was one of my favourites because I performed it heavily in my Young Magician of the Year act, which I think you mentioned in the intro as well. And this was a routine that I kind of developed over 4 or 5 years in order for me to actually get it to a standard where I was happy with entering the Young Magician of the Year back in 2017. And that would be my billiard ball manipulation act and the specific billiard balls that I'm going to recommend here. I mean, this is going to alienate a lot of listeners because I do understand this is very, very niche, but they would be the perfect manipulation balls by Bondley and Magicalism, specifically the 2-inch ones. And yeah, I think it's a really incredible piece of magic. If you perform manipulation, you'll understand why they're so good. I'm not going to go into the specifics on that. But I think even as a magician, this is a magician's trick, right? I mean, if you do this for a lay audience, they kind of look at you and go, all right, cool. Where was, what bit was meant to be entertaining? But if you perform this at Blackpool, if you see some of the incredible manipulators, and I do not put myself in that category, but if you watch some of the incredible manipulators like Bondley or some of my favorite, like Lucas, Guy Hollingworth, if you watch them do some manipulation, even if you know what's happening, you just hear, like if you go to Blackpool and you can just hear people all around. You don't see a move, but you know they've done a move, and you just hear gasps from around the room, and that kind of I really enjoyed that. So I really enjoy kind of developing a routine over 4 or 5 years to get up to a good level where I could say, yeah, I'm happy with that. I want to enter the competition, and I could put my name to it.
Dean is being very modest there because Dean is a very, very good manipulation act worker. I've seen him perform and I think he's phenomenal. And do you have any videos up online?
I don't think so, not at the moment. That's actually something that I'd like to revisit. So if I get some time, I'm going to actually put some more specifically on social media, because I did one recently. It got really good reactions from people. People really enjoyed it. So I might look at doing some more shorter versions. And I think I've changed a little bit now my style and my approach. So I probably wouldn't be happy putting out the videos from 7 or 8 years ago, but I'd definitely be refilming some more, and I'll definitely put some out there.
Well, that's a really interesting one. We've not had, to date, we've not had manipulation routines or acts on the podcast. So, yeah, it's really exciting. If someone wanted to start out manipulating, just as a side note, because I know nothing really about manipulation acts, where do you even begin?
So the place that I'd recommend anyone going is to Jeff McBride. So look at any of Jeff McBride's manipulation. I think it's called Jeff McBride's Art of Manipulation DVDs. So he's got card manipulation. I mean, he does literally everything. If you're talking about geniuses in magic, Jeff McBride has to be one of them. He's the best. Like, look at some of his acts, and then I think it's called The Art of Card Manipulation. There's 3 different volumes, and if you go on his website, I'm sure there's going to be, because he's got his magic school out in Vegas, which I was very lucky to go to a few years ago. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be some content up there for sure.
And that brings us on to your final 2 items, which are arguably the most difficult because you only have one of each. Before we go on to that, did you have, we always allow honourable mentions. Did you have any trick honourable mentions that you wanted to put in?
So if I did put a card trick in there, the trick that I would mention would be Stand Up Monty. And that was one that I was toying with between that and Bin and Lemon. I don't think you can compare the two. I think Bin and Lemon's probably stronger, but as I said, I don't perform it as much. But Stand Up Monty's probably the thing that just missed out for me. I think it's such a strong piece of magic, very versatile in the way that you can perform it. And I like it also because it doesn't really feel like a card trick. It feels more like a little bit of a sleight of hand demonstration or a hustle. So that's always a good one.
It's one that we've had quite a few times already. Spoiler alert.
Oh,
depending on what order these go out in.
Yeah, I wanted to make mine slightly different. So I know the last 2 may raise a few eyebrows, but I wanted to make mine slightly different from just being a commercial close-up set.
Yeah, not at all. I think they're really, really interesting. So what did you go for your book?
So I went with one of the first magic books I ever got, and a book that I still refer to now, and it's Mark Wilson's Complete Course in Magic. It's just a really comprehensive guide that runs you through absolutely everything you could possibly need to know. Lots and lots of hard work in there. You've got like cups and balls. So I'm currently learning like a new chop cup routine. So I went straight to this book to see what kind of routine Mark Wilson was doing. I mean, loads of impromptu magic that you can do with everyday objects. There's sections in here, money magic, loads of different things. Also, something that I think if you're starting out, it's probably one of the best things that you can do is get a book like this because two reasons. You can put your own style to any trick that you read and learn in this book here. So you're not like a carbon copy. I mean, we've all done it probably, but you're not like a carbon copy of the trailer of the trick you've just purchased kind of thing. And secondly, because there's so much, I think there's going to be something in here that appeals to everyone. And you could, I don't know how much this book retails at, but you could definitely do, I don't know, 20 or 30 routines. If you know, even if you're a social media magician, I reckon this would probably be a valuable investment just so that you could pick out some little nuggets here and perform some tricks to camera and whatnot. But yeah, I think Mark Wilson's complete course in magic for me had to go in there simply because of the fact that I still refer to it today.
Yeah, very, very good choice. I'm not sure if it's one that we've had yet, but I would be surprised if it's not one that comes up again. But yeah, very, very true. Any sort of compendium book series or book course is a really good way to go for any beginner or starter in magic. But also, it's such a cliche nowadays, but what's old is new again. There's so many new magicians coming up, and there's so many great tricks that are sort of lost to history and lost to time. So books like that allow you to rediscover some of these methods that, you know, they just all they need is updating. They need brought into the current century in whatever way you need to, whether it's the props you're using or, you know, the format that you're using. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Even social media performers, I bet that there's some real gems in there for them.
There is. I was just flicking through before we jumped on our call, and one of the things that stuck out to me was like a full wine glass production. I've seen different versions in the past, but it's just really interesting, like method. Again, I'm not going to go into it on the pod, but if you can get your hands on it, there's a really nice wine glass production, which is full of liquid wine, whatever, that you could do either close up or on stage. But yeah, I think just little golden nuggets like that, just flicking through and seeing that has already made me think about how I can implement that at a close-up gig and how I can kind of do that impromptu as well. So it's always good to kind of read over old tricks and, as you say, bring them back into modern day.
I reckon lots of people are going to be going to their bookshelves now and remember that they have that. They're going to dig it out and have a look through it. And that brings us on to your item. So your non-magic item that you use for magic and you couldn't live without. What did you go for?
So it's quite a difficult one for me to choose. What I've gone with is I'm going to say costumes. So I'm going to call them costumes, but essentially what I wear to gigs. So what I love doing is always kind of dressing appropriately to every event that I perform at. So I've recently kind of just invested in loads of different suits. So I've got one specifically for weddings. I've got one for like corporate events. I've also got like a really nice black tie suit that I've got like tailor-made as well for like gala dinners and award ceremonies. And I've also got like a really nice smart casual one as well, because I believe that as a magician, I've seen it a few times online. No criticism. Obviously, people do what they want, but I have seen, people at like a summer barbecue and people in shorts and t-shirts wearing like a three-piece suit, and you just get that. You just look a little bit out of place, to be honest with you. There's a little bit of a barrier between you and your audience. So I always feel like if you can speak to the people, your clients, the people you're going to be performing for, understand what they want from you on your event, understand the dress code and dress appropriately. So not necessarily be the most well-dressed person, but being the best dressed person. You can still dress down and look really nice. So I have like really nice smart trainers and some nice chinos and whatnot, and all my other suits as well. So that's probably what I'm going to take with me, and that would really help me with all of my gigs, because I'm sure it'll be nice and busy on the desert island.
I think with all of the suits that you have, it's going to be blinking hot on that desert island. But yeah, I think you're right. I know that Harry Nardi mentioned this in his as well. But I've seen you gig, and some of your gigs are, they're quite high-end clients if we're being honest. So you actually have your suits tailor-fitted or tailor-made as well. So just that level of dedication, that level of attention to your audience and to your gigs really shows the kind of performer and the sort of mindset that you have going forward. And when we did a gig a few months ago, and the tux that you had just look slick. I'm glad that we're on opposite ends of the room doing different tables, because I would not want to be stood next to you looking the way I did and you looking the way you did. So yeah, I think it's true. I mean, some people say that it's when they put on the suit, that's when they become the magician. That's when they feel like they're at that function or at that gig.
Yeah, I think something that Harry says to me a lot is if you're looking good, you're feeling good, kind of thing. So when you dress really smartly and really well, I always just feel like so much better. I always feel like I'm standing up straight. I'm standing up more tall. I just feel like for some reason when you put that suit on, it just completely changes the way that I'm thinking myself. So I think my suits are something that I'd probably have to put in there. I absolutely love them.
How do you choose which suit to wear to each gig? How do you make that decision?
I just so it's funny you say this. I did a wedding recently for a guy on the wedding circuit near me who owns like a suit hire shop for like weddings in Royal Ascot. That's where I'm kind of near, and he recommended to me. He said, your suits at the moment are great. Where'd you get them from? I was like, oh, Moss Brothers. And he was like, no, we need to sort this out. So he's like, come into the shop, kind of got 3 or 4 different suits tailor made for me. And he said, this is going to be a black tie suit. This is going to be a suit or 2 that you can have for your weddings. And this is another suit for corporate. And he kind of just recommended all these different suits to me. And because he's an expert in his field, I thought, well, he knows much more than me. So I'm going to take his advice on this. And so over about a year, I invested in the 4 suits that he very kindly recommended to me. And I think he's very happy now, probably one of his top customers. But I think I always speak to the client beforehand as well. And I always say, what's the dress code? And that's actually a required form in my booking form as well, because if they don't put that, then I don't know what suit I'm going to wear, how I'm going to turn up, what I'm going to look like. And as I say, it's really important for me nowadays actually to dress down as well, because a lot of corporate events that I attend and perform at, people are wearing like jeans and t-shirts. So if I'm there wearing a suit, more often than not, you do look out of place and people notice that. So if I can turn up in jeans, nice smart jeans, smart trainers, like a smart t-shirt and a little blazer, I don't look out of place at all. And you just feel so much more comfortable. Well, I do anyway. And especially, yes, all the different various gigs. Another different type of gig as well, like performing on a boat. You don't really want to be wearing a suit on a boat. It's just not really what you do unless you're, performing at a wedding reception. You want to be kind of looking cool and like a summer vibe for like a nice boat party. So that's what I kind of try and do.
I think what you just mentioned about dressing down is something that I've thought about before. And I'm just saying this, I don't know if this is true, feel free to disagree, anyone, but I do feel like it could almost create a complete divide between you and the audience. It could almost there's this whole thing in when you're filmmaking where the position of each person shows the power dynamic. So if the shot is from below looking up, that makes the person look powerful. If it's from the top looking down, it makes the person weak. But I think that clothing does that as well. And if you're going to an event where everyone's t-shirt and shirt, and you go in there with a full tux, which is clearly quite expensive, I think it can almost ostracize you, and it could almost create a conflict straight away. From the second they look at you, they may think something about you or act a certain way towards you because of that perceived power dynamic in what you're wearing, if that makes sense. So I think sometimes, it could be a negative in a roundabout way.
I think so. I really do. So like I was saying, most of my costumes are for specific events. Like, I know that what people are going to be dressed like at a wedding or a black tie gala dinner. It kind of does what it says on the tin. But I think nowadays in the corporate world, it's just much more normal to be relaxed, and people wear literally anything. I think people and bosses now don't really care about what people wear as long as they're doing their job properly. And so I think, for me, it's really important to understand that as well. And I think that when it comes into like gigging, understanding what your client wants from you, not just in terms of your magic, but when they want you to arrive, how they want you to arrive, making sure you're not causing any disturbances as you're arriving, if there's going to be any wards or speeches going on, and kind of understanding the expectations that they want, then that's that's only going to make you a better performer and going to make your client happier and hopefully lead to rebookings.
Well, that's a great, really interesting, diverse list. And like you said, no card tricks.
Other than stand-up Monty, that had an honourable mention, but as I say, that's not really what I would call a card routine, not like a 4-ace or laser aces or whatever. So
it's also, for looking at your list, I can imagine that if you had a photographer at your event, every single picture would look so interesting because you'd have a lemon in one and a mini Rubik's Cube in another and a wad of cash in another one. If you're
and the 4 billiard balls at a table in
I was
another.
just gonna say, yeah, and a newspaper. It'd be so interesting.
The thing is, I would actually, as you alluded to earlier, I'm doing the wedding MC, so like master of ceremonies at weddings, and I actually would do the Sword and Restored newspaper in a like pre-speech show, do a little warm-up show for all of the guests to kind of get them in the mood for the speeches ahead. And I actually would do the Sword and Restored newspaper. It's such a visual piece of magic. And I was thinking about this the other day because there was a wedding couple that had actually given me their own newspaper. So it was the life and times of Molly and Paul. And it was all about them and their journey together. And I was really thinking about getting a couple of copies and doing that in the speech show, but I just couldn't get my hands on them quick enough in order to kind of do the preparation needed. But that would be a really good routine actually at a wedding, I think.
You could combine it with DFB. So you could have a list full of different like headlines on a list and have someone think of one of those and then have the newspaper tear it up, have someone pick out one of those pieces of newspaper and they think of whatever word or headlines on there, and then suddenly the newspaper, but one piece drops on the floor and you're like, oh, don't worry about it. Then the paper completely joins itself together, but there's one little piece missing from the newspaper. That's the piece that dropped on the floor. And then written in that newspaper could be the word that was thought of, but also the headline that was thought of as well, which would be a good way of doing it. So it would be easy to combine some of your pieces to turn it into something much bigger.
100%. No, I completely agree. That's a really good idea, actually, Jamie. So I've just been writing that down. If you could say that one more time so I can get that again, please.
You'd have to listen to this back, all right? That's great. If anyone wants to find out more about you, Dean, where can they go?
They can go online. They can go on Google, Dean Leavy Magician. Look on social media, Dean Leavy Magic on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, that's about it, really. I don't really have much online, really, when it comes to magicians magic, but definitely check out the social media if you want. I'm going to be posting some more magic videos. Hopefully, I'm going to be doing some more manipulation stuff because that's something I really enjoy and don't get to do a lot of these days. So that might rekindle my passion for manipulation if I can get some content up on social media, predominantly going on Instagram if you can as well.
Dean, you've been focusing a lot on social media recently as well, which is really good to see. You've been really pushing it, haven't you?
Yeah, I really enjoy it, actually. I think it took me a while to get into it. I wasn't a massive fan of it to begin with, but I think if you're a close-up magician and you want to, get more gigs, that's probably the place to be. It's just what most people use now more than Google. I think TikTok has overtaken Google as the biggest search engine in the world, and Instagram and Facebook people are always searching for recommendations on there as well. So I think, yeah, it's definitely the place to be if you want to increase your public presence, or if you just want to have some fun and share some content as well. I know that there's other people out there that just do that and just share really good, high quality magic. So if you want that, then don't go to my page. But if you want to see some fun, some pictures and videos, then feel free to check it out.
Thank you so much, Dean, for sharing your Desert Island list with us. It was really, really interesting. And I know that lots of people are going to go and dig out Complete Course and hopefully check out MD Mini because it's wonderful. But please don't do MD whilst I'm at a gig because I'll get your readings and you'll get mine.
Well, we did have that problem, didn't we? But I was just
yes,
shouting from the other side of the room. It's blue.
We will see everyone listening next week. Do go check out Dean's socials, check out his videos, check out some of the tricks on his list because he has got some killers on there. And we will see all of you next week for another episode of Desert Island Tricks. Goodbye.
Hi, Peter Nardi here, and I really hope you enjoyed that podcast. I just wanted to let you know that Alakazam have their own app. You can download it from the App Store or the Google Play Store. By downloading the app, it will make your shopping experience even slicker at Alakazam. You'll also get exclusive in-app offers and in-app live streams. So go download it now, and we'll see you on the next podcast.